What is up, guys? Marcellus Williams, aka TheSwolefessor, here to educate you on health, fitness, and social well-being. Welcome to another video, and man, I could cry, bro. I could cry. Not really, but kind of, sort of. Because, man, my squat has never felt as good as what it did yesterday. It's never felt that good. I don't think it's ever looked that good in terms of relative speed, man. And before I get into that, right? Let me just tell y'all why I appreciate powerlifting now so much. And I don't mean from the business perspective. Obviously, I'm one of the owners of powerlifting now. Obviously, it's very, financially beneficial. It's really cool to, be part of leading the innovation of this sport, putting out new content, promoting ideas, dialogue, everything like that. But as a consumer, like as someone that actually watched the videos of all the other coaches, it's been so good, man, because the May release specifically, it's like each video that the other three main coaches, because I haven't watched the guest video yet, but I will. Rob. Rob, you watching? I'm gonna get to it. But I watched the three videos from the other coaches, so Sean Noriega, Steve Denovi, Matt Cronin, and they've all been so good in relation to even what I'm doing with my own training right now as a lifter. Like Steve talked about, hypertrophy focused bench programming, like how to make subtle changes with things to put a bigger emphasis on growing, maybe lower the specificity with bench. He went over a lot of stuff that just confirmed that we're on the right track with what I'm doing with my current programming for bench, right? And even with the squat, technically, a lot of the same stuff applies. And then for Sean, his video was over accessory programming for the deadlift. And it's stuff that we're kind of already doing, but one thing I'm going to be playing around with, which is, it's so funny because this is stuff that I do with lots of my clients, but just have not thought to do with myself, but even swapping out the barbell RDL, right, with RDLs on the belt squat on the pit chart, just so I can push it that much more, really focus on getting the work on the glutes and the hamstrings the way I want, but not taxing out the lower back as much, which is going to be huge. And then with Matt's video specifically, his was all about technique and overthinking technique, and when to make adjustments, when not to. It was all just really good. So Matt's video specifically is what played a big role in what I did yesterday. So you guys know in the last video, you saw pretty much the highest exertion work of this block. And yesterday was the last day of this block, the last day of the back end deload before we start the new block tomorrow, right? And basically what I decided to do was like, okay, everything's going well. Everything's feeling good. Deadlift's in a really good spot, especially for the first block. Bench is in a really good spot. And squat was in an okay spot, right? It's in an okay spot. We know that top end strength is going to be quite where we want it to be, not just from the change in the programming, where we're focusing a little bit more on growth versus top end performance, but also just due to being in the softer sleeves, due to the fact that it is the first block post meet and my fitness isn't going to be as high, and just kind of recovering from the 260 kg squat attempts at the meet, right? There's a lot of factors that go into the squat. But one of the things was, like I said, with trying to get used to all these variables, like I told you guys in the last video, we've been playing with just, okay, same overall positioning, but just emphasizing, hey, I'm going to just have my gaze be a little bit more downward so I kind of can have a smoother flow when I kind of sit back into the hole and see how that feels, right? And it was feeling really good, and that's something that's been helping a lot of my clients as they transition into these softer sleeves. The only issue that we realized on the week 4 primary was that with heavier weight, it just doesn't feel natural, right? And the biggest thing, right, is I have to move in a way that feels natural. That's a lot of stuff that Matt was emphasizing in his video, right? Like, hey, if something's causing a detriment or pain, cool. But if not, let the body self-organize the way it needs to. There's that aspect of it, right? So I was talking to Brad about it. And essentially, what Brad told me to do or to focus on was like, hey, man, just do a bodyweight squat. Just see what you do when you bodyweight squat, right? And the thing is, when I bodyweight squat, I'm not thinking about okay, really initiating the squat, letting my knees track over the toes, right? And I'll show you guys, I really record a video of myself doing this so you guys can see, so I'll have it up on screen, where you guys are gonna be able to see, at one point, I'm, with the first couple of examples, I do each thing, I do each thing twice. The first time I go kind of slow, and then I just do it normally, right? So you guys are gonna see that when I try to do a bodyweight squat, and I really try to initiate the squat just knees over toes, the same way I do with the barbell, it just doesn't even look natural. I just end up getting pitched forward and having to shove my hips back at the bottom anyway. It doesn't look natural. And if I were to try to bodyweight squat by just, really emphasizing sitting my hips back first and then letting the knees track, then that obviously doesn't look as natural either, compared to when I just squat. I'm not thinking about the knees or the hips. I'm just squatting. The knees are breaking, the hips are breaking. Everything is just very comfortable and natural, right? So the whole idea that Brad was saying was we need to get that same type of feeling just with your barbell squat. Yeah, there's a barbell on your back. It's going to make the position feel a little bit different, but just getting to that point where you can just squat, right? And the other thing I noticed for myself is, yeah, when I just bodyweight squat, I don't really shift my gaze downward. Like I said, what I've always done, I don't crank my head up. I don't tuck my chin. And even when like my chin is more neutral, looking straight ahead, I don't shift my gaze downward. I just look straight ahead and I squat. So decided to, okay, let's go back to that. Let's just go back to having my gaze be where it normally is, just so there's less noise, less overall changes, right? And that's what I'm more used to, as shifting my gaze downward is something I've only been doing for the past couple weeks. So let's just look straight ahead and see how I feel like with just squatting. And in doing that, also my warm-ups, it's like, okay, this is feeling good, but the issue is it just feels like there's not as much stability as what I'd like though. Like, yeah, I'm just trying to squat, but I can tell the bar, like in terms of like, okay, as this weight gets heavier, this bar might still kind of get me back in the habit of kind of folding me more than what I want, right? So what I decided to do was simply just lower my rack height by 1, because this is something that we're having Sean do for his squats and to help him feel really good. And what I saw when he sent that to me was that he just looked really stable in the hole and was able to kind of have his normal pace descent. So I decided, okay, let me just lower the rack height by 1. I'm typically on rack height 10 for the Helico, so I lowered it to 9. And in doing that, and just getting the bar a little bit lower on my back, not like a French low bar, it's not like it's on my lats, but just being able to really get it a little bit lower on my back and really lock that upper back position in, it feels so stable. Like, okay, this is not going anywhere. It's not gonna roll on me, it's not gonna shift. And once I unrack and I walk out, all I'm focused on is just, okay, my foot pressure. Pinky toe, heel, big toe, driving the floor, right? Upper back's locked in against the bar, tight grip on the bar. I brace and then I just squat. You guys know that typically I have a little bit more of a tempo descent into the hole because my foot's okay, let the knees track over the toes, try to maintain this position so that way when I hit the hole, I'm not losing tension, I'm not losing position. And it looks good and it works well when I can drive through. But the issue I feel, especially when I think about my 260 kg squat from the meet, is that sometimes I'm having so much tension control that I just don't have enough of that like drive through with the reversal, enough of that pop that I would like relatively, right? So instead of like focusing on that, I'm just gonna squat. I'm not thinking about the knees. I'm not thinking about the hips. I'm not thinking about like, oh, initiate with the knees over toes. I'm not thinking about sending the hips. I'm just going to squat. Like, okay, I'm locked in. I feel the foot pressure, I feel the brace, squat. And it felt amazing. You guys saw the way that it moved. And those of you who are maybe new to the channel are like, oh, but it's such lightweight for you. Like, of course it should move quickly, but you guys don't understand. Those who've been following for a while understand that priming day doesn't typically move that well. It doesn't typically feel good. It feels better kind of as I go. That's the whole purpose of it, right? But especially on the back end deload, coming off of the week 4 primary and the high exertion work where I'm under more fatigue, it typically doesn't have that type of pop, that type of speed. And yet yesterday it did. It felt so good and it was repeatable. You guys saw me do it on the top set and then you guys saw my last back down. I was able to do it and it felt really, really good. And it was the simplest thing. It's like I'm not really changing how I'm squatting overall, right? I lowered my rack height by 1. I'm just going back to like looking straight ahead versus shifting my gaze downward. But the only thing I'm really changing is instead of even thinking about, like, cause typically I think about my setup, right? But then when I squat, the only thing I think about is, okay, just initiate with the knees. Now I think about that. I'm really just squatting, like bodyweight squat, just squat into the hole. And I'm still able to keep tension in position, even though I'm going down a little bit faster, because I'm not dive bombing, I'm not losing control. It's just with the bar being that lower position, once I brace, everything feels locked in. It's almost like making it like a hack squat basically. It's like, hey, you're locked into the pad, now just go down and let the legs do the work. And it really allowed me to feel like I was staying in my quad. So I was really happy with how that felt. And then with bench press, nothing really different there. I did decide, because on my past primary day, which I don't think I mentioned in the last video, I did lower my rack height by 1 as well, from 9 to 8. And that's just because on the new Helico pads, like the ones that we use in competitions and the ones that are at Pinnacle, because the new pad is softer and kind of sink into it, I just found that for me, I'm able to maintain a better tension position if I am on the lower rack height setting. But I decided, you know what, I don't want it to feel like different, so let me just go in the lower rack height setting with the old Helico pad as well, and it works just fine, especially for having no lift off. It still feels like I'm really compact, can kind of just press the weight off the rack the way I want to, and I'm in a good position. It'll feel that much better with the lift off. So bench feels great. The only thing I'm playing around with though, with having the rack height lower, because of the way I'm setting up and because it's lower, the way I'm able to really extend my wrist into it, it's just playing with my wrist wraps again. I'm somewhere where I never had the wrist wraps super, super tight because I don't want them so tight to where it's kind of forcing me back into a neutral position when I'm pressing. It's just enough to support how I feel so I can really extend against the bar, right? As far as my wrist extension. Besides that, everything with bench was the usual. But it just felt really, really good. And I'm excited because deadlifts are already feeling amazing. Bench is already feeling incredibly strong, especially for the changes we made with the programming. And once again, the goal is to build at the top end, not necessarily get an acute, immediate performance boost, but we're feeling really good there. So the squat was the only thing where I was like, man, I was not happy with how the squats felt. I wasn't worried about the weight or the difficulty of that. I knew what the circumstances were. But there's a difference between like, okay, a squat feels good, it feels natural. It's just, hey, your top is not where you want it to be versus, okay, hey, I hit this low, but it just didn't feel right. But yesterday felt more than right. Yesterday felt great. So honestly, super, super happy about that. Super, super excited to see where things are going to be. I'm going to go ahead and also take you guys through tomorrow's workout. Like I said, starting the new block, day 1. And just so you guys know the way the progression is going to be, I already talked about this last video, but pretty much for my accessories, anything that were sets of 12s are now going to be sets of 10. Anything that were sets of 10, like my hack squats, are now going to be sets of 8, right, for block 2. And then block 3, anything that's sets of 10s will go to be sets of 8s. Anything that are sets of 8s will be sets of 6, right? And then we'll restart it all over again and go back to like, the higher reps, like with the 12s and 10s and whatnot. Any of my movements that are AMRAPs, those are still going to be AMRAPs. You guys know the way I like to do it is kind of keep the same load for the entire block and try to just progress the reps on the AMRAPs each week. And then with each block, increase the weight and then same thing, repeat it. So that's what we're going to be doing as far as that. And then as far as the big 3, a lot of like nothing's changing with like, my secondary squat. That's just going to be, well, something did change. You guys saw last week. Instead of it being like a top double and like a 3x3, we're just doing a top single, right? Just to let me prime myself still. And then the 3x3 became a 3x5. And the purpose of that is just, since we don't have the high bar anymore, just getting a little bit more reps in, getting a little bit more practice, getting a little bit more of that pop so I can feel that going into the primary day. So we'll see how that feels tomorrow, but should be fine because it's easy to recover from the weights light. And that's the thing, we can afford to do that because despite pushing the hack squat and the leg press, I still feel well recovered coming into that squat day. So that's the only thing that's different about that. But other than that, it's the same, overall setup. My tertiary bench is still going to be the same. It's always going to be 3 total sets of 5. And, sometimes we'll be all at the same low. Sometimes it'll be like yesterday on the back end deload where the first set's a little bit heavier than sets 2 and 3. And then my secondary bench day is still going to be the same as far as like, the 2 count double and then like the repeat double after that, comp standard, and maybe eventually go down to a single like for the final block. The main changes with the SBD is going to come on the primary day. So like on my primary deadlift day, which I've already done, my top triple is now a top double, but my back down volume is still the same as usual, 2x3 there. And then I'll have like, my 3x4 on tomorrow's secondary day. And then with the squat, it's just going to be, last block across 4 weeks. It was like top set of 5, 5, 4, then 3. This time it'll be top set of 4, 4, 3, then 2 on the week 4. And then with the bench, everything's the same except for instead of a top triple, then the fatigue single, then the back down volume sets of 5 on the primary day, it'll be a top double, then the fatigue single. So yeah, besides that, everything else is going to be the usual groove. I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, guys. I'm so happy, man, with how squats move. Before I get into it, as you guys can see, right, what we're doing with the squat is obviously a little bit different than what I just told you what the plan was in the last clip a couple days ago, right? Or no, the last clip yesterday. I'm tripping. Anyway, and that's just because last night around like 11 p.m., Brad hit me up and kind of telling me like his thought process and what he wants to do. Now, I could have easily just re-recorded that part today and be like, oh, hey, guys, here's what we're doing. Here's how we're progressing things. But no, man, we about transparency here. I wanted y'all to know what the original plan was, and now I can better explain what we're doing instead and why, right? Plus, I like just taking y'all through the process with me. As Brad's telling me stuff, I'm telling y'all stuff, right? But essentially, Brad actually kind of liked what we did at the end of the last block with kind of just working up and hitting that 235 single and kind of seeing where things are at and using that as a gauge, right? So what we're doing is, like I said, I already told you how we changed the priming day, just having that priming single, then the 3x5. What we're doing today is just having a top single. Instead of having it be a higher rep set, we're just having a top single, right? And using that to gauge how we're feeling each week and getting progressive load on that for across all 4 weeks. And then to kind of make up the gap in not having as much of like the reps at that higher load threshold, I have an additional set. So you guys know that before the new program, I had a top set of, whatever it may be, and then 3 back down sets. So with the new program, I had a top set and then 2 back down sets, 5. What we now have is a single and then a first set of 5 that's set a little bit heavier in workload, right? So I can still get some of like those reps with a relatively higher intensity, not as high as what it was, but still kind of keep me in that threshold where I need to be. And then 2 back down sets of 5 after that. That's a much lighter, easier exposure, right? So now I've just gone from 7 sets of squats in total to 8 here, which is still less than what I was doing, before we made these changes. And it all felt really good. So getting into it, you guys got to see all my warm-ups, you got to see my top set, you got to see the initial top set of 5, and then the 2 back down sets of 5. And you got to see everything from every angle, right? Left side, front right, front left, and man, the consistency of the speed is what I'm so hyped about. Like Thursday wasn't a fluke. It's like, no, this works. And I know it's not, it's a combination of one, like I said, just trusting myself, like doing what I need to do on the setup, taking my time with the walkout, finding the foot pressure, bracing, but then from there, not thinking, just squat. Just maintain that tension and squat. Don't even, like I said, before the only I was ever thinking about was like just, let the knees track. But I'm not even thinking about that anymore. I'm just squatting and letting my body self-organize. Shout out Matt Cronin. And it feels super, super good. And then the other part that I know is a big part of it is just my legs feeling so much fuller from what we're doing with the higher reps and the sets on the leg press and pushing the hack squat and the leg extension, just my legs feeling full, maintaining that pop, man. It feels fantastic. And it's cool, man, because like I said, as long as I've been doing this, there's always something new to learn or something new to revisit or doing something that you did before but with new context. Which goes back to what I was talking about in the last video about like, guys, not getting so overly dogmatic with what you do, especially when you're young in this. I get it, we've all been there, we all go through that phase. But as you get older in your training age, you just learn to utilize different tools and not to shut anything off so long as it's following basic principles that we know to be true. But yeah, I'm super happy and hyped about that. For the rest of this workout, I'm not gonna show y'all everything, it's just no need. It's easy week 1. I'll show you my top double and my fatigue single on bench. I'll show you 1 set of my secondary deadlifts, and then I'll show you the last set of my leg press. And then that'll be it for the video. So let's get it done. All right, guys, that is it, at least as far as everything that I will be showing you today. And yeah, I'm feeling good. I mean, bench felt even better week 1 of this block than it did week 1 of last block. And week 1 of last block felt particularly good, especially given the circumstances of like shifting the programming and whatnot going into that week 1. But yeah, it felt good. Double felt smooth. Single felt good. Back down volume, which I didn't show you guys, but all moved very well. Deadlifts, moving and feeling as they should on the week 1. And leg press was good. For that final set of 10, I think it's like 680 pounds, not counting the sled weight. It's basically, it's 7 plates and a quarter on each side. And my plan is next week to finish around 8 plates. Week 3, 8 plates and a quarter. Then week 4, either take 8 plates and a quarter again for the week 4 for the AMRAPs and beat what I did last block with that weight for the 2 sets of AMRAPs, or just go to the 9 plates with the AMRAPs and still beat what I did, since as you guys know at this point, we did not push those sets to a true like RP9, not even close. But getting that relative progression is what I'm looking for, either in terms of load or reps on that week 4. But yeah, I'm excited, man. Like, everything feels really good. Technique feels dialed in. Body weight's trending out the way it needs to be. I'm doing everything I need to be doing right now, man. And above all, like Mike and I were talking about it, we're just having fun. Like, with the way we're training right now, we're having a lot of fun. There's no real crazy external pressure or stress other than just the motivation to be better, right? And push ourselves with what we're currently doing. But yeah, I still have to do my leg curls and my calves, so I'm gonna get that knocked out. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and leave a comment down below, let me know what you did. If you're not, leave a comment down below, let me know what can get better. Like the video, share, subscribe, keep it simple, specific, scientific. I'll catch you guys later.